Hello everybody, this is Roger from Roger's Reviews. Today we're going to be going over how I got kicked out of my first business rental. Um, when I first started my tree service, I started out of my house and then I jumped around. I used little spots to store my equipment. As I built up equipment, I had to ask for favors to store equipment because I didn't have a piece of property to store everything. So whenever I could afford it or not really afford it, I rented my first business office at More Granny Mini Warehouses in Orange Park, Florida. It was only a 2 bay. It could hold about 2 cars, maybe 3 cars. It had a small office, which basically could house a secretary and basically a small area, standing room only, for customers to come in and pay. I worked out of this office and lived out of this office for 2 or 3 years because I couldn't afford to rent an apartment or and rent an office at the same time, and I didn't want to be a burden on anybody, so I built a small office up top to where I could rest at night. There was no shower, or there wasn't much. There was a toilet, a sink, and I bought a hot water heater, cooler for drinks, and I got a membership at the local health club. So basically, I could clean myself up, take showers, and work out in the evenings. So it was very low budget, but like I said, I didn't want to burden anybody, so I could basically do everything on my own, not ask for help for anybody, and nobody could tell me they gave me anything. At this time, I was about 30 years old, and I just moved from Phoenix, Arizona, and I was starting all over again. We started getting busy. I hired a few people, started buying more equipment, and I was outgrowing the office very quickly. So I made arrangements to store equipment in front of Lowe's on Orange Park, Florida. We made an arrangement. If we trimmed the trees, we could store the equipment. The equipment was always parked by the road, and other tree service would see it, and they would call and complain to the city. And they would always call me up and say, "Excuse me, you can't park all that equipment by the road. That's against city ordinance." And I would always ask them, "Well, may I ask who's calling?" And they would say, "A concerned citizen." So eventually, enough tree services called the city and complained, and they made me move my trucks. And but I looked up the ordinance, and it said as long as the trucks are moved 100 feet away from the road, basically you can't do anything. And these trucks were gone from 7 or 8 in the morning till 7 or 8 at night, so they really never sat around. They just sat overnight for storage. So needless to say, I was able to keep my trucks pretty much where they were, and that lasted for about 4 or 5 years, or actually, yeah, altogether the trucks sat there. I eventually had to move the trucks because I moved my office. But sometimes it's not, it's people that they see your success or they see you doing well, and they try to kind of throw a wrench in things. I had permission to park vehicles up there, but the district manager of the place I was renting, he didn't like my trucks up there, so he told me he was going to tow them. Of course, he didn't tell me who he was. He just kind of barged into my office and said he was going to tow my equipment. And that's not the thing to do to a tree service or tree guys. It's two people you don't mess with: people that own a pig farm and people that own a tree service, if you know what I mean. But anyway, I told him, I said, go ahead and move my equipment and see what happens. Later, I found out that he was the manager or district manager for the place I was renting. Needless to say, within a few short weeks, I got an eviction notice for no reason. So, a place I called my home for almost 3 to 4 years, I had to move out within 30 days. The manager at the time tried to block in my equipment and she actually basically stole one of my vehicles. I had a 4x4 truck that she had blocked in, and I tried to get it back. Every time I came, she would have a piece of equipment like a forklift or a storage unit, something in front of my truck so I wouldn't get it back. So every time I'd come back, she would block it in. And it was in a fenced-in area, so I couldn't. That was the last piece of equipment to come out. So basically, she set it up to where I couldn't get it back. And then as soon as I left, she called a tow truck and had my truck towed. And when I came back to get my truck, it was gone. And she lived on site. I lived on property, and she wouldn't answer the door. And she basically had the police come and gave me a trespass warrant. But if you're a good guy and you know everybody and you help everybody out, all I had to do was make a few phone calls. I called my buddy Artie, who ran a tire service, and he called all the tow companies in the area. Of course, he knew them all because he changed tires on everybody's tow trucks. And needless to say, instead of having to spend $500 or $700 to get my truck back, they brought it to me for $150. So what comes around goes around. And she said that the reason she kicked me out is because I worked too much and I was always at the shop. But when you have a small business and you want it to prosper, you put your blood and sweat and tears into your business to make it grow. So needless to say, I was very upset with her, and I found out over the long run, it doesn't help to be mean or angry or despiteful. The best revenge is success. And now I'm 10 times bigger than I was, and now when I see her, she smiles and waves at me, and I smile and wave right back. Because sometimes when people do negative things or they try to destroy your company or to try to destroy you, it actually pushes you to a new level. And when you look back at it, you actually improved and you got better and you increased your wealth and your knowledge, and it pushed you to a new level that you had never been pushed before. So you actually owe those people. You might be mad at them at first, but when you look back, you actually owe those people because they pushed you to a new level, and you would never be where you are today if it wasn't for their negativity of yesterday. So positivity and the best revenge is success. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, please crush the like button and subscribe and share it, because there's a lot of small business owner that gets discouraged, and it's nice to see a story and people's struggles that end up coming up on top. Because everybody says that nice guy finishes last. It's not. It's the people that keep getting up and keep pushing on that succeed. If you look at any successful person and you listen to the stories and what they had to go through to get to where they're at, there's a lot of hurdles. And especially small businesses, they go through a lot, but it's all a learning experience. So anything that happens to you, don't look at it as a negative. Just basically look at it as a hurdle or look at it as an opportunity, because it doesn't matter what happens to you, it's how you deal with it that makes you successful. So thumbs up, and thanks for watching, and I'm going to bring you more. I appreciate it.